What's up, everybody? If you've watched some of my videos before, you have definitely noticed that I enjoy using Mirror's Edge gameplay as background footage while discussing various topics. You might also have noticed that I have a bad habit of pissing off some game developers sometimes.
Humongous what?
Humongous.
Humongous what?
That's what it is.
Humongous what? Is that sexual harassment?
No, it's humongous.
Then why did you say that to me?
That's my name.
Well, in today's video, I managed to bring both of these elements together for you guys, so... But first, a bit of context. This game is Panline. I showed it on a previous video, but just in passing. It's made by an indie studio called Viridian Matters. It's really more so like a small core team, maybe 1 to 5 devs or something, probably still doing game development as a side gig. They only have one other game, you know, that's how small they are. The other game is called Icarus Parkour, which I will also be featuring footage of during this video. Icarus is more of a first-person precision platforming game. No fancy parkour moves involved, just basic mechanics. You jump, you can do one extra jump pushing off of a wall, and then there's several elements on the world to interact with, like some ladders to climb, some walls allow mantling, some surfaces have lighter gravity, others have heavier gravity, etc. And honestly, the more I've played it, the more I've been enjoying it. It's basic, but it adds some variety and difficulty the higher you climb up this massive tower. There's also a story told through notes for anyone interested. Panline, though, is the studio's next game, and as it's clear by the footage released by the dev, it's heavily inspired by Mirror's Edge Catalyst. You could even call it a Mirror's Edge-like. Recently, clips shown by the game's page have been making the rounds online, and there's basically two types of people reacting to it. People like me, who are excited because, let's face it, we're never seeing another Mirror's Edge from EA ever again. The games industry is absolutely cooked. AAA companies like EA, Ubisoft, 2K, etc. are incapable of just making a single-player game with no caveats anymore. These companies are so cluttered and mismanaged that a single-player game can get its budget ballooned into the hundreds of millions of dollars, making smaller, more straight-up games like this unviable. They gotta get pumped with as much shit as possible so they can be mass appeal games with some form of monetization thrown in there too. Oh, also in order to maximize the monetization, they need to make the game open world with loads of empty stretches of land where they can pack in a bunch of additional filler and level gating stuff or cosmetic stuff, so on and so forth. You know, we can forget all about franchises like Mirror's Edge. Stuff like this just isn't doable by these publishers anymore. They can't imagine making a game that doesn't have massive profit potential. Mirror's Edge Catalyst in 2016 was already a surprise because it was like, oh my goodness, EA allowed DICE to get out of their cave for 1 second to stop making either another Battlefront game or another Battlefield game and make a single-player game instead? How could this be? So basically, our only hopes of ever seeing stuff like this again are through smaller studios or independent developers like this. But anyway, so the other type of person out there reacting to this footage of Panline is people who are mad at it for looking like Mirror's Edge and either accusing it of being a ripoff or calling it an original slop. I pretty much just ignore this. Like, at the end of the day, social media is social media. Opinions are like buttholes, everyone has one. And usually people are more abrasive on it too, so until I saw the industry attacking Panline, kind of like how PC Gamer called Tainted Grail The Fall of Avalon, which is a great indie RPG, and Elder Scrolls Wannabe, that I didn't really want to bother with talking about it. But lo and behold, we actually did get a veteran developer in the games industry come out and call Panline a crazy ripoff of Mirror's Edge's shit. That's his words, by the way, not even mine. And honestly, at this point, given what we've seen over the past few months, it's only a matter of time until some game journals take this opportunity to make articles about it too, because if there's something else you may also have learned from watching various videos of mine, it's that game journalists are always ready to undermine and dunk on promising indie games, smaller studio games that do things that they don't like, such as attractive female characters, or games from the Eastern market. All just to protect their little corporate interests over here in the Western AAA business. So let's dive right in there. So this post came from David Goldfarb, an industry veteran, saying that Panline is some crazy ripoff of Mirror's Edge's shit. Jesus fucking Christ, as someone who worked on it for a little while, I can't decide if I'm impressed at their desire to be sued by EA or not. And boy oh boy do I have some words. Many more words than the ones that I wrote as a reply and that got him mad at me. My reply wasn't even that bad, man. I swear guys, I was totally being a good boy.
Why the fuck you lying? Why?
Really, I only said, why would they get sued by EA? Does EA own blue skies and clean-looking futuristic cities? Do they also own the concept and mechanics of freerunning or parkour? Advocating for ownership over mechanics is bad enough, but this is even more pathetic, especially while targeting an independent developer's second game that is filling a market demand that you ignore. Also, you own Metal Hellsinger. By the same standards, why shouldn't you get sued by Bethesda for ripping off Doom? Oh what, because you added a rhythm-based feature to the combat? Well, look at that, the ziplines in Panline are yellow instead of red, and they make a sound. Are you happy yet, or should the developer add rust and garbage to the environment too? David Goldfarb's reply was swift and brutal, guys. Dude, please shut the f up and get out of my feed. Man, bro got mad for so little, and it was immediately too, like he responded to that within a minute or two of me posting it. I might actually have to get used to the potential reality that some developers out there are starting to know who I am or something like that, because I have no idea why he was so hostile right off the get-go. Understand that he didn't even have time to look me up, like he didn't have time to go on my profile, check some videos, or, you know, check the link to my YouTube channel and basically be like, oh, this is one of those YouTubers or whatever. Like, he didn't have time for that. Dude, I posted it, and almost immediately after there was a notification right there telling me to shut the f up and get off his feed. He doesn't even know the rest of the stuff that I wrote in my comment, but ended up deleting because I didn't want to sound like an asshole or dump a bunch of additional details and information that people usually don't want to waste time reading, which I'll definitely bring up during this video though. Some other guy popped in too, you know, someone wasn't even a follower of mine, mind you, just a dude, popped up and said, when you make retarded claims on social media, you're going to get called out on it. Do better. David Goldfarb got mad again. Take your 18 followers and ignorance and exit stage left. But alright, okay, enough of this veteran developer's comments. Besides, he ended up locking comments to only specific accounts shortly after this anyway, so I guess he exited stage left. Let's get to the meat of the video though. Alright. You guys know I really like Mirror's Edge, so I will admit a bit of bias when it comes to this whole thing because yeah, I 100% want this game to be a thing and to come out. I've been waiting to play more Mirror's Edge since 10 years now. The only reprieve that I've gotten are the Dying Light games, which also have first-person parkour gameplay the way that Mirror's Edge does, but everything looks like garbage because, you know, it's a post-apocalypse. But my defense of this game isn't unique. I find myself defending various indie games just like this who take some ideas that are present in other games from a long time ago and just use them to build something new of their own. Sometimes it even happens by accident in funny ways. For example, this right here is Suit for Hire. I call it the John Wick game because that's exactly what the hell it's supposed to be. It's beyond obvious when you play this that the movement of the character is heavily inspired in Keanu Reeves' moves in the movies. In fact, some of them look one-to-one, and even in other animations such as when the character is speaking around the corner, you know, there's a certain identity to it. It doesn't do it in a default way that you would expect. It does it in a way that is fitting to the mannerisms that John Wick has in the movies. And now there's an actual John Wick game being made by Saber Interactive. Bet money that if this indie game, Suit for Hire, came after the John Wick game, it would get called a ripoff. Hell, I bet some people are already calling it a ripoff of John Wick anyway, or of Hotline Miami, since you can play it from a top-down view. It's actually the original view for the game, but then the developer added third person, and thank God he did, because in my opinion, it is the best way to play this game. But regardless, this shit happens very often in indie circles because duh, a lot of indie games out there are being created based on inspiration from games that the indie devs played growing up, or at any other given time. Even in the AAA side of the industry, inspiration and borrowing of aesthetics and game mechanics happens. Remember Shadow of Mordor? Very clearly took from games like Assassin's Creed, and the combat was straight up the Batman Arkham system. Dante's Inferno is a fantastic hack-and-slash game that is obviously inspired in the original God of War games. You could call that a ripoff too, but you play that game and there's literally no reason why it shouldn't exist or why it should be shamed for existing. Lies of P is another highly regarded game. It's obviously borrowing from things like Bloodborne and Pinocchio. Why shouldn't it exist? Is the Victorian setting exclusively only usable by Bloodborne? Obviously not. Remember how many games Witcher 3 influenced as well? How many games the Resident Evil games also influenced? Especially Resident Evil 4. Do I even need to talk about Demon Souls, or rather Dark Souls, which took off so hard that it spawned an entire genre that is so saturated right now that some people have even coined the term Souls fatigue? And how could we forget last year's Expedition 33 and its obvious inspiration and even UI similarities from Persona? A similar argument has also been had recently in regards to Crimson Desert, that the game borrows a lot of mechanics and concepts from a bunch of other games. Some work, others feel a bit bloaty, but the game still managed to carve its own identity. Some people get bent out of shape and complain about it in ways that don't even make sense. The Black Hokage, for example, was going on about it just a week or two ago, because of the character switching mechanic from GTA 5, when in reality, first of all, it's not even GTA 5 that created it, and also, I mean, come on. It's character switching. It's as basic as walking, running, or jumping in a video game. If you got multiple characters, why would you not have a character switching feature in your game? And since we're on a goddamn generation where nearly everyone, including consoles, are using solid-state drives, why wouldn't you make the character switching be seamless instead of going into menus and loading screens? Why do some people complain about this kind of thing? Is it just to spend time getting mad on social media? Why are people protective of game mechanics? Like, why do people cuck themselves out for corporations which are objectively the only ones who will ever be able to enforce this kind of power through patents to begin with? Because they're the only ones who have enough money to have whole teams of lawyers on retainer. Why don't the David Goldfarbs, the Black Hokages, and all the rest of these morons I hear whinging about borrowed mechanics or in support of suing indie developers or modders over shit like this, just shut up and stop being corporate soy boys? You're not going to get gluck from the CEO, okay guys? It's not gonna happen.
No, I can't. Anyway, how is your sex life?
This kind of road gets worse, pathetically worse. Nintendo is suing Palworld over the concept of capturing a monster through a ball. I hear they also hate that they use their aesthetic, and I also think I remember something about a flying mechanic, like they couldn't use the animals for flying. I'm sorry fellas, I'm not all caught up with the Nintendo Palworld lawsuit lore, but it's so stupid. And in a way disgusting, because if you remember the Pokemon game from Nintendo last year, Legend ZA, it was hot garbage. So while Nintendo was making hot garbage for their Pokemon fans, we got some other studio going like, you know what, I'm going to make my own thing. I'm going to appeal to sort of the same type of people, and I'm just going to make a way better game that Nintendo refuses to make. And then in comes Nintendo to try and sue them for it. And you definitely heard of various instances where modders worked hard to provide additional content or create something entirely new for some games, and then they got yoinked by legal teams. Rockstar's games have a history of this kind of crap because Take-Two Interactive are insanely aggressive. Knowing the amount of mods that they have terminated makes me feel lucky to have been able to play San Andreas Online mods when I was a kid, but this was probably because Rockstar hadn't yet tasted the sweet monetization that GTA Online would later bring them. Activision sent a cease and desist order to take down a mod that a team had been working on for a while, trying to make Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's remaster be playable online with servers. They only released a single-player version of Modern Warfare 2's remaster because they knew that if they released the multiplayer one, nobody would be buying any of their new garbage. It's just as it happened with Modern Warfare 1's remaster. It released together with Infinite Warfare, and then nobody wanted to play Infinite Warfare. Now you could say, hey, but Dez, then why doesn't Activision just do the MW2 multiplayer mode themselves? Then they could sell it. Well, the reason for that is they don't want that. They want people playing their new garbage, because their new garbage is purpose-built to allow for all the monetization. You know, all the different premium currencies, the decal shop, the Fortnite-colored garbage weapons, the Nicki Minaj skins, etc. Their new games have that infrastructure already built in, and Modern Warfare 2's remaster doesn't, so it's not as monetizable, because back then, games were made to be fun. Call of Duty has always kind of milked itself with yearly releases, but at least the games were fun. Now they keep milking it as they always have, but instead it's not even a game anymore, it's a goddamn eShop with a tacked-on shooter. So an MW2 remaster would literally be a ticket for a lot of Call of Duty fans to not even bother with buying any new Call of Duty games for a while. So they never did multiplayer for it, and they shut down a team of modders, making what was a dream come true for many of us. Nintendo, of course, has also taken down a bunch of mods. I mean, surprise, surprise, they take down whole games if they can, so why not mods too? Moving on from mods though, you guys remember Warner Brother Games patenting the Nemesis system from the Shadow of Mordor games? That system was so awesome, and now we're never gonna see it again because, again, as I said at the intro of this video, the AAA industry is cooked. It's mismanaged to all hell. WB Games is in an abysmal state, and last year they shut down Monolith Productions. So, in other words, the studio behind making the Nemesis system no longer exists. And because of this stupid patent, it isn't even something that is out and about and readily available for any other studios or indie developers out there to be allowed to use, because if someone even tries to engineer it again, or something similar to it, there's a patent ready to raw dog them in court. A stupid patent over a game system. This is a huge loss in gaming, and to kind of get the grasp of just how much, just think about all the roguelike, Metroidvanias and Souls-like games that are out there. If anyone had tried to lay claim to any of these concepts to exclusively own them, we would have lost a lot. And so it's nuts to see a game developer, someone who has been at it for years, who worked on games like Battlefield, Killzone, Payday, etc., sitting here and shitting on an independent developer for just trying to make a fucking game that even pays homage to an old and dead franchise that he once upon a time worked on. Also, something to note actually, I mean, it's a bit petty, but I don't care. He was petty first, guys, okay? He did it first, I'm only gonna do it now. I owe him some pettiness back. He wasn't even at the studio when Mirror's Edge Catalyst was being made, he left in 2012. So when he says he worked on it, he's talking about the original from 2009, which doesn't even look at all like Panline. So either this guy is really just that stupid and he's legitimately trying to lay claim to the concept of parkour and free running in a video game belonging to EA because of Mirror's Edge, or I don't know what he's whinging about because the 2009 original game is aesthetically different than Catalyst, and of course, than Panline. Which brings us to the aesthetics part of the video. I love the look of Mirror's Edge Catalyst, but I love the look of the original even more. In fact, if I had to pick a game for a developer to rip off in the future and piss off David Goldfarb even more, it would definitely be Mirror's Edge from 2009. There's something special about how it looks. Catalyst was much more futuristic, much more alien to our world, to a point where sometimes it even is annoying because of the coherence with the setting. The original game, on the other hand, has an insanely perfect mix between the contemporary and a close future dystopia. Aesthetically speaking, it's even hard to put it into words. This might even sound really stupid, but it's the best way that I can do it right now. It looks like a memory or something. Like when I think back to memories of mine growing up, they look like the way that Mirror's Edge looks like. You get what I'm saying? Like when I think back to the apartment I used to live at, you know, the apartment buildings that I used to go down and play in the patio of, I remember it at a first glance in a clean, minimalistic, dreamlike way. But in reality, it was a shithole. The exterior walls were dirty, there were tiles missing, the patio outside where the cars parked was full of cracks, there was weeds growing, there was a goddamn swamp nearby. Even the windows weren't picture-perfect glass, they were darker because apparently in the late 90s it was fashionable for a while in Portugal for buildings to be built with darkened glass windows, so when I grew up there was a bunch of that shit everywhere. But does that stop my brain from remembering it in a clean, dreamlike state? Nope. Look, just look at this. Let me try to explain it in a different way, okay? Do you see this? It's a tree. but it's a totally white tree. Trees obviously aren't white, and while you're running past this, you might not even notice it, but there it is. It's a completely whitewashed tree. It makes it look like something you buy at the edgy decoration section of IKEA. But in other ways, it also looks the way that dreams kind of look like. It's hard to put it into words, but usually when you try to describe a dream, you mostly stick to the endpoint, to the primary focus of your dream, while everything else around it just blends in. In the same way, many things in Mirror's Edge are meant to look like they blend in, while the primary things are highlighted in a strong color. For example, in Ropeburn's level, the primary color is orange. His sign is orange and his building is orange. It's in the distance and you're supposed to get to it. Random walls here and there have orange and white coloring, and everything else around it blends in. As another example, the mission on the boat is green. Boat has green colors, inner maintenance halls are painted green and white, the railings on the boat are also green, so on and so forth. And of course, outside of that, in Mirror's Edge, red is also an important color as it highlights where you're meant to go sometimes. I have no idea if this dreamlike focus point thing was intended or if it's kinda just happened and white trees are over there out of laziness or something, but frankly I don't think so. I think it was intended. But regardless, that's what the hell this game reminds me of, and beyond that, it's set in a world that is much more contemporary, so there's no weird setting fuckery the way that there is in Catalyst. Like, you can see train stations, you can see the malls, you can see regular buildings and construction, office buildings, maintenance areas, etc. You know what you're looking at, it's coherent and it makes sense within the universe. Catalyst, on the other hand, has many areas where I have no idea what the fuck I'm looking at. Almost like some rooms were built purposefully to be art pieces rather than have a function, and some of them are connected weirdly too. The game wanted to be a bit more open and not as linear as the original, so naturally there's more connection paths to keep the flow going, and some of it ended up feeling too cramped and incoherently connected. But anyway, why am I reviewing the damn game? Let's get back to the point here. What the fuck is wrong with me, okay? So let's look at Panline. When you take Panline and then you take Mirror's Edge Catalyst, you can definitely see a thematic sort of connection, but it's mostly surface level stuff. It's like two general elements. It's the modern futuristic look and the cleanliness of it all. Those are the key things. But once you look deeper, Panline is distinct from Mirror's Edge Catalyst. It bases its look much more in a Frutiger Arrow type of style. If you're not familiar with that, it's a retro-futuristic design aesthetic that was popular during the 2000s. I don't know exactly where these names pop up from, but that's what it is, fellas. If you grew up around this time, you'll know what it is even if you don't know the name of it. Just need to think about all the advertisement that we used to get for certain products like modern stuff, you know, such as phones, music players, consoles, etc. You know, like Nokia phones like this one that used to come with music players as a feature. I don't even care if I sound like an old man right now, but this was the shit. These phones had aura, as the kids these days like to say. These phones mark the new phones, fellas. How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
There was this very identifiable style to it and even other things at the time, such as the user interface of programs such as Windows Live Messenger. Yeah, that's right, I remember Windows Live Messenger too. Call me a boomer all you like, it was the best damn messaging app we ever had. Honestly, Windows in general, apps in general such as LimeWire, had aesthetic elements like this too. You could customize your YouTube page with it as well, because you could make individual elements translucent with background images. Some video games used it too for UI. It's what felt modern back then. Vibrant colors, clean, sleek, often minimalistic backdrops, bright, optimistic modern color palettes such as whites, blues, greens, yellows, strong, very saturated. Also, a focus on chrome, glossy surfaces, and glass. Everything very clean and reflective. Undoubtedly futuristic, but also crossed with nature, rather than how Cyberpunk, for example, is futuristic but is more focused on replacing nature. Cyberpunk is like the 2077 futurism, where the world is fucked. Frutiger Arrow is basically super advanced futurism after the world ending, okay? So it's like the world ends, and then the humans that remain remember to never commit the same mistakes of the past and build towards a more utopia-like world in a far future. So you got these, again, sleek, futuristic but clean cities, surrounded with trees, greenery, clean water, vibrant blue skies. In other words, it's a fantasy, but a really nice one to strive for. Also, a weird obsession with bubbles, sometimes with shit inside the bubbles. Sometimes it was like futuristic houses that looked like bubbles with glass all around them. Oh, it sounded cool back then, and it inspired a bunch of advertisements and even some game aesthetics for some sci-fi games, but in real life, it would be a nightmare. I mean, you'd wake up, go take a shit, and everyone could see you buck naked from outside. Man, what a beautiful utopia, huh? Anyway, Panline draws a lot from this style. At best, it's a cross between Frutiger Arrow and Catalyst, but Catalyst itself does not do this. Well, kinda, sort of, okay? There's one level in which it kind of does, which is the last one when you're climbing the shard. That's when you finally see trees and more futuristic architecture that isn't built for use, it's built for decoration. Otherwise, there are none, and there's still a lot of industrial garbage, including shitholes and tunnels, the guts of the city of glass where the low-caste people reside, etc. Because that's also a whole thematic thing with these games. The beauty of the city, the cleanliness, the maintenance, the safety, it's real, but also a facade for its dystopian reality underneath.
Everything's changed. The city's different now. I keep thinking of my folks. They thought this place was something worth protecting. Mom and Dad were friends with Pope, organized protests, lobbied the mayor, took me and Kate on marches. But I never really understood why back then, what it meant.
Merc said your mom died.
She was killed during the downtown riots. Protest marches that went bad.
That's rough.
You don't recognize him?
Should I?
It's Robert. Robert Pope, friend of Dad's.
Shit, that Pope.
He called me. We hadn't talked much since I joined up. He had a break-in last week. He's still a campaigner. Don't you read the news?
It's not news anymore. It's advertising. Come on,
Hayward,
come with me. I'll take you somewhere safe.
This isn't the time to run. I'm not like you. Running will just make me look guilty.
You think this was an accident, Kate? There are no accidents in this city. Someone wanted him dead and wanted you to take the fall.
Help me, Effie, please.
Now, why am I bringing all this up? Well, because if this game is a ripoff and should be able to get sued by EA, as it should be according to Veteranos Developorius over there, Chris Belfort or whatever the fuck his name is, I forgot by now, then why? If it's because of the gameplay, it's stupid because laying the claim that you should be able to patent parkour gameplay is dumb and honestly terrible. This is the type of thing that shouldn't become a precedence for a bunch of big gaming companies to start patenting key elements of their own games. All it'll do is make the games industry poorer. But if it's the aesthetic, then it's stupid too, because while these games have surface level similarities, they also have very clear stylistic distinctions. And this would also mean that anyone thinking of using the Frutiger Arrow aesthetic for their own games should stop, as it could be claimed by EA. And that's not to mention if other developers out there also started laying claim to visual styles, which is an even bigger nightmare. So I really have no idea what the hell this guy's talking about. Look fellas, I get it, okay? I truly do. Sometimes we see some things that look very similar to another piece of media that we enjoy and we feel kinda like that's a bit of a ripoff. Maybe we get a bit defensive if it's something that we really like. And hey, sometimes who knows, you may even be right, because I'm not about to pretend like there aren't bad faith people out there doing exactly just that, you know, plagiarizing content, stealing things, scamming people, etc. I mean, we did just see that whole case with Light of Motiram not that long ago. The Chinese game that looked a lot like Horizon Zero Dawn, and in which case the similarities are much more blatant because we're not talking about general concepts like clean-looking cities, glossy vibrant colors, reflective surfaces, etc., and we were instead talking about very specific ideas such as robot dinosaurs that were even designed with the same type of materials, and then the same type of materials were also found in character armors, etc. The font, the environment, everything really, plus it's China. it's no secret that they take things without permission sometimes. But even then, it's one of those things that are very shaky to get into. And at the end of the day, if the game was good, then there's definitely people out there who would have wanted to play it. But still, you know, I get it. I get it. In that regard, I understand. Because again, the things that are similar are very specific, all the way down to the finer details. But here, with parkour and the aforementioned surface level aesthetic shit, and then the other differences such as the Frutiger arrow style, and on a franchise that is very likely dead because again, EA wants lots of money, and let's face it, a single player game like this would not bring them that kind of money, not even close, so it'd be profitable. All you really need to do to make a profitable game is just stop being a lobotomite when it comes to how you run your studio. Get a small, competent team on board, give them a couple $1,000,000, and they could totally whip up a new Mirror's Edge game. It's not like it's Red Dead Redemption or Witcher or Baldur's Gate levels of complexity or scale. But again, the AAA industry has completely lost their minds and their touch. Profit is no longer enough. They don't want to just make money on a video game. No sir. What they want is the Frutiger arrow outcome. They want to make games that generate a metric shit ton of money. Their expectations are so crazy that they have blasted out of orbit into a fantasy type of future. That's why despite Battlefield 6 doing well for EA last year, the studio still suffered layoffs. A nice tight little profit is a no-go. What they want is big money. And that kind of mentality sadly means that I'm likely never going to see one of my favorite franchises in gaming ever come back. And sometimes that's not even a bad thing, because if it came back as a shameful second-rate live service attempt with monetization trash lumped on top, or a lazy reboot, which in many ways Catalyst kind of was. Like, make no mistake, I still like playing this game, I still find value in it, I still feel the potential of the dystopian sci-fi story and world building pulsating from inside of the game's codex system, which is packed with very interesting lore, but it was disappointing at the time. I platinumed it, again, I had a lot of fun with the gameplay because it's such a rare style of game, but I was sad that it didn't come close to the original or build on top of it. So honestly, with the state of the industry and EA as a company getting worse and worse and worse, my hopes for Mirror's Edge to ever exist again and be good are gone. So if an indie studio with a very small core team, which frankly might just be like 5 people making games as a hobby, wants to, as a fan, inspire themselves in Mirror's Edge and bring back something that at least is reminiscent of it, even if it's just in a much more contained way, where their presentation and story is obviously going to be much more limited, then let them be, dude. What the f***? Out here dunking on independent developers making a parkour game, then crashing out and locking the comments. Like, what the hell was this for? And this goes for everything else that I've seen over the past few months with indie games or AA studios popping up and people going, oh my god, it's a ripoff of Deus Ex. Oh my god, it's a ripoff of Elder Scrolls. Oh my god, it's a ripoff of KCD. Oh my god, it's a ripoff of Resident Evil. Oh my god, it's a ripoff of Devil May Cry. Like, let people make some damn games, dude. I get wanting new stuff, but that's exactly what these games often are. They're new games borrowing from older genres or other features that are often misused or straight up missing from AAA because they're too busy making live services or underwhelming super safe games that are bordering on generic. Also, come on. These are small teams, independent teams, sometimes it's teams making their first game. This is the kind of case where you say, let them cook.
Even if you don't like it, shut up! Shut the hell up! Let them work, let them cook! Let them cook or you're gonna get Call of Duty 96! I'm not living with Call of Duty 96!
Let them make a game, let them get better game development, let them evolve the fucking mechanics that they are using on their first game. This is how this industry got to where it got when we were in the golden days. It was developers making shit, learning from it, and then improving them in sequels. If someone's making garbage that doesn't justify its price point, then, you know, garbage is garbage, absolutely, go at it, criticize it, etc. But immediately dunking on a game because it looks like a franchise that used to be good and that belongs to one of these big gaming publishers? Oh, you can't do that, that belongs to the company. And that's just soy shit, man. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video here, go play more Mirror's Edge, because that shit was peak. But anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.